Jared Randall. And just getting on with a bit more communication on a couple of things. The first thing is just noting the fiery energy today. It is the day after the peak moments of the full moon in Leo. I don't know what the exact time frame is, but we haven't had a full moon in Leo in a while. And it was honestly, for me, don't know what others felt, but it felt like a huge spotlight turning on throughout yesterday, and then ended up in some very fiery energy coming through, and I think a very deep, profound sense of confirmation and vision, and Leo energy is an energy of being okay in yourself, of being strong in yourself, and knowing yourself. And I think I felt that coming through quite a bit. Even though there was a bit of time of just feeling that spotlight turning on. It's kind of what the full moon feels like to me, the spotlight turning on, and it just will reveal all kinds of things. But anyway, if you're still feeling that energy, if you did feel that energy, if you have felt that energy, I think that it's an important full moon for us. It's however you work with the moon. If you don't work with the moon, I encourage it. I don't necessarily see the full moon as a time of shedding. Some people do. I don't see it that way. I see the full moon as the point of, okay, we've really picked up speed, we've got a lot of energy, we've got a lot of light. What can we see from this vantage point? Now, it does almost immediately move into a period of shedding, is what I find. Because now the moon is going to get smaller again, and it's going to go back down into the darkness. And as it goes, we have to decide out of all that fullness that we felt during the full moon, perhaps, if that's what we felt, what is it that we are holding on to, keeping with us, and what is it that we're letting go? We can never hold on to it all. We never can. That's why working with moon energy is so healthy, because it keeps you in a monthly, basically, state of this gathering up, seeing what we've got, making something out of it, making what we can, and then letting go of what we can't. And it's extremely healthy. So again, I encourage it. I find, for me, there is a sort of a wheel of the year calendar. It's very witchy. I have identified as a witch. I identify as druidic. I identify as something that has passed on from the world, but also hasn't. An energy that has continued, and it's still there if we look for it. That is what I identify myself as being, as practicing. I emphasize the practice of things and the effects of those practices, and then constantly refining that for what works for you. There's no right way, as long as you're not hurting someone else or hurting yourself. There's no wrong way. So I highly encourage, just getting a wheel of the year. You can get a bit of you probably just, I'm sure you can just download on the internet to start. Probably a PDF or something that you could print out somewhere. The cost of entry is real low there, and it's just going to show you the year. It's going to overlay the moon cycle, and it's going to give you the signs of the zodiac in their order, and it's very simple to set up a bit of a tracking system for yourself. That's what I do. I use this to track where am I at. I use objects that are sacred to me to mark the time. I use witch runes that I pull with every new sign that the moon goes into. I pull 3 witch runes. Sometimes extras come out, but I pull 3. And I always have them going around the circle. One of them marking more or less the exact period of the moon, and the other 2 equidistant. So you get a bit of a triangular motion going around the wheel that way. So at some point I'll make a video showing this. I find that this is a helpful practice that helps me work with energies, and sometimes energies that I wasn't expecting come up, and other times it's energies that confirm what I am feeling and going through, and sometimes it's strengthening energy for those things I'm going through. So highly recommend. So that's the first thing that's just kind of coming through today, I guess, as something that I'm interested in sharing more about. There's a lot of different ways to practice these types of things, and I think the only wrong move is, if you have an impulse to, is to not go ahead and do it. You're going to learn as you go. I literally had no experience before about a year ago with these types of practices, but found that I intuitively knew what I needed to do, and the only question was I going to obey the impulses and start practicing what I knew I needed to practice? I needed to. It wasn't a question. It was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And the only question is, where exactly am I going to gather the meager resources that I need to start doing it, and did it. And that is really it. Your intuition will guide you, and as you obey that intuition, I think what happened for me, is that ancestors who connect with these practices, maybe ancestors you don't even know about, maybe ancestors you do know about, those energies will have flowed through, the ones that you do know, into your life. And it will be there, and you'll start discovering things. If you get quiet and you listen, you're going to start hearing from those energies, from your ancestors. They're not gone. They're with you. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, I don't know, but this is something you've been thinking about, well, then just do it. Just do it. So that's one thing. And I think it's really important to not get caught up in doing it the right way. I look forward in the future to sharing some of my practices. I am interested in hearing other people's practices. It's not important to come up with some kind of, almost like Catholic liturgy of this is how to do it. In fact, the exact opposite. Okay? The power of it is in you following what moves you to where you need to go and starting to open up that space for yourself. That's where the power of it is. It's not so hyper mystical. I like to work with crystals, but the power of those crystals are the energies that I have, that I'm pouring into those crystals, that those crystals are helping me encapsulate and then work with. That's where it's happening. It's not necessarily because of a particular material, a particular color, unless that resonates with you. Literally resonates with you. Literally makes you hum on the inside. If you're getting a humming on the inside, then that is for you. It makes your heart sing. It makes your head ring like a bell. And the energies start to flow, then that was it. Do that. And only do it to the extent that it's working for you. And then move on to something else. And then incorporate things that feel stable to you, that meld into your daily practices, your daily life, that don't take effort. It's stuff that you want to do, right? Those are the best ways to get into a bit of a witchy or druidic practice of your own. Just start small, start simple, start with one or two things. And, if it doesn't do anything for you, then move on to something else. Don't worry about it. The more important thing is that you started to listen to yourself and you started to act and open up an intuitive side of you. So that's one thing. It was actually a lot more than I was expecting it to be. The second thing is to carry on, and this may get fiery. I have all that Leo energy. I don't really have any strong Leo placements in my astrological chart, but I have strong Jupiter. I'm Sagittarius rising. My moon is in Aries. My North Node is in Aries. So I have a lot of fire going on. When I let it out, when it comes out, it can come out pretty strong. I get fired up. I get passionate. So it may not seem that way. I can tend to seem quite reserved, but just a warning that I feel that energy today and it may come out. And if it does, and it seems like anything like anger, it's not intended to be directed at anyone. But there is a bit of something else that I feel strongly I'm supposed to talk about here, which is this energy of looking for a savior, this energy of looking for a messiah, this energy of waiting around for the apocalypse to happen, for the skies to unroll, and the hero to appear in the sky and make everything better. This is very much attached to a certain type of Christian way of thinking, a way of that Christianity can go. There's a bit of it in some other religions as well, but I personally have witnessed it so strongly and grew up with it within a type of fundamentalist, very independent, yet very wrong-headed Christianity. And how do I know it's wrong-headed? Because it hurts people. And if it hurts people, then it's wrong-headed. It's wrong-hearted. And this kind of energy tries to foretell what's going to happen and get us all preparing for this or that thing. We think of this in terms of cult leaders, right? Also, prophesying some event, and of course the event comes and goes, and does it happen? Well, no, but it did happen. It just happened energetically. Maybe it did. Maybe it happened on another timeline. Maybe it actually really did. I don't know, but that's not really the point. The point is that anyone who has looked into these things and has both studied and has been working energetically with spiritual perspectives, with what can be seen through various practices, what can be opened up, if they're being honest, or else they're just ignorant and they don't realize it and they're caught up in their own fire. And that's why it's so important. There's a lot of fire today. There's a lot of fire in the air. We can get caught up in that fire. And I've been talking a bit about the fifth dimensional perspective, and the problem with working with that perspective is it will open up all kinds of possible timelines that you will see, and you will know, oh, this is possible, oh, that could happen, oh, the world could be headed here, it could be headed there. Well, yes, could. Not necessarily for you, for the collective that you're a part of, on the timeline you're most closely associated with. And how do you get associated with that timeline? By how you live, what you do, what you say, who you are becoming, how you are becoming that, who you are associating with, who you are choosing not to associate with. The life that you used to live, but you're now refusing because it wasn't you, it's not for you. It's a life that society tries to put on you, but you don't want it. You are, even if you have to stay in it for a time, you are saying no to it. All right? So this is what grounds you into a timeline, or grounds you away from another timeline. So could I come on here and make some predictions about what's going to happen in the future? And you'll notice on the beginnings of my videos and the ends, sometimes it comes up with a little thing, and the future is in there. I'm not uninterested in the future. Not at all uninterested in the future. In fact, we all should be extremely interested in the future. The problem is, the present that we're living right now started to be made decades ago. The future we want to see down the road doesn't happen overnight. That's not how it works. That's not how the whole thing works. A spirituality that matters starts looking at what things mean, what things have meant in the past, and how what those things have actually meant can be seen in the present by what's happening in the world. We can see the falseness of a lot of spirituality by it leading us towards wars, by it leading us towards making more and more homeless folks and not taking care of them, by it producing a country, in some cases a world, where people can't get health care. This is a reality of where we're living. There's a type of spirituality that will bypass all this and pretend it doesn't exist because, well, I'm being spiritual and I'm going to rise above it all and I feel better all by myself. Well, yes, you probably do feel better all by yourself. But that's going to end in disappointment. It will. Because if you sit back and trust that the world is just going to remake itself in your image, it's not going to do it. You have to ground into your life the world you want to live in. And that doesn't mean you alone or I alone have the power to wave a magic wand and change everything to be how we want it to be. What it means is, on a smaller scale, if we don't start looking for the world we want to live in and acting as if it's already here and living in that world and refusing the world we don't want to see, that other world will never come. It won't get here because we will not have built it. You see, and there's, I don't think I've talked about this before, maybe I have. There are 4 energies that we work with. 4 energies that we work with. We work with the fire. We work with the water. We work with the air. And we work with the earth. Now, with the onset of Western science, this idea was all poo-pooed because, well, that's not how chemical reality works, and yada yada. And of course that is the case when we're talking about, say, chemistry. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an understanding of human becoming and human reality making. In that context, as the ancients knew well and we have neglected, there are 4 energies. There is the fire. It is from above. The fire. In the tarot, that is the suit of the wands. There is the water. That is the suit of the cups. There is the air, the suit of the swords. And there are the discs, or the pentacles. And the pentacle is a misunderstood symbol. The symbols of the others put together become the pentacle. And that is the earth. You put the others together and you get the pentacle, you get the disc, you get the earth. What does that mean? Well, the fire comes down from above, and it must pass through the water and the air and be grounded into earth. All these energies must work together. Earth grounds it in place, and we make something. Now, it's very nice to be in our fire energy, and that's when when I'm working with my ancestors, when I'm hearing them, when I'm out in the woods, and I have a particular guide who will literally lead me to things that I never would have found by myself. Crazy things happen. That's all great. But what is it for? That energy has to come down. It has to be weighed with the heart, with the water energy. It has to be apprehended in a way. It has to be stored in a way. We can store that energy up with our water energy, with our heart energy. We can also store it up with the air energy. It's the energy of our thoughts, the energy of the mind. We have the heart-mind here between the two. I recently talked about the heart-mind. The air and the water need to flow together. The swords and the cups need to be brought into some kind of balance within us. And then the fire comes down, and we are ready to apprehend the fire. And then, using all these energies, we can ground things into place. We can ground a future into place. And that's where things get real practical, when we start thinking about earth energy, when when we start thinking about the pentacles, when we start thinking about the discs. That's the true magician, the true magus, the true worker of light is figuring out how to ground the light, ground the fire, bringing it all the way down. There's a lot of purification that must happen in the mind, in the heart. And this purification doesn't necessarily look like, say, the rules of this or that religion. That's not what it's about. It's much more personal than that. It's more about how do you need to become the person you need to be to let these energies flow. So there's a lot there, a lot to unpack. This is probably enough for one video. I invite you to work with moon energy, and I invite you to start thinking, if you haven't already, about the four elements, if you will, the four energies that is human becoming. Again, the fire comes down, has to pass through the water, the air, and then we ground it into the earth. That's where we grow and develop, and we grow things in our lives. We root in ourselves. We can then take these energies and compare them and think about them when we're doing chakra work, when we're thinking about the energy flow of our bodies. There's a flow here. There is a similarity here and a mystery to it, if you want to think of it in terms of mystical happenings and mystical practices. That just means mystery. And is it a mystery? It kind of is. It's a mystery to me, but also the key to it all is practice, practice, practice. What can we put into practice in our own lives? What can we ground in? And anyway, I hope that this finds you well. I hope that this is a helpful message. Yeah, don't get caught up in foretellings. There may be some foretellings that I could engage in, but is it really helpful? The foretellings I might make are things that we might have needed to prepare for years and months ago. It's not how we're going to yank the head of this world around to be what we want it to be. We're going to do that instead by starting to ground in slowly that world that we want to see. There may be some big things that come down the pike, and they may change a lot of things for a lot of people. That's all in the cards. I won't deny it. But what will actually come through, I don't know. And anyone who says that they do, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful. Because in the end, we need to ground in a new world together that we all collectively have decided on. Not that one person has, peeked beyond the sky up into the stars, down below the surface of reality, and has glimpsed that, this is a possibility. Well, yes, maybe it is, but what are the helpful possibilities? That's where we need to focus on. Focus on yourself, your life, making it the life that you want to see. Looking outward, again, a huge theme right now is looking towards our leadership. Our world leadership has clearly failed. And I don't care who you're looking at. These are for the Trump people. This is for the Biden people. This is for anybody else who's lashed onto a leader. The whole pot of them has failed. None of them any good. None of them have led us to a world we want to live in. None of them. So don't get latched onto them, okay? If you want to support new leadership, be ready to demand that leadership matches your values, that they're leading towards a world you want to see, and be extremely brutally honest with yourself if that leader is actually going to lead that way. And then, yes, are there sometimes some tough decisions? We got to support something. We need to move the needle somewhere, in some direction. Yes, and we do the best we can. But the sooner we start putting out that we're not going to support all that old bullcrap, the more likely it is we get the shot at leaders that we actually might want to see leading us places. Okay? All right, this has gotten a bit long. I started to say goodbye. I'm saying goodbye now. I hope this helps. I hope this doesn't seem like a downer, but that is my role, not to be a downer, but to speak some reality, speak some grounding, speak to the earth energy, okay? We have to bring these things down into a lived reality. It just doesn't do anything if we don't, okay? It doesn't. Sorry, it doesn't. That's where it's at. On the flip side of that, if we all just realized we could make whatever world we want and we all just did it, we could do it today and it would be done. That's how powerful this is. The problem is we got to get together on it, and there's a lot of division. And that's what we got to be careful of. And again, still not saying goodbye. If we look at people telling the future and making predictions, doing that sets up a division point. Okay? We need to be wary of that. We need to be real wary of that. I need to be wary of that. All right. So that's it. This was the news from not so far north. Jared Randall here. Appreciate any liking, any commenting, subscribing, sharing, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Much love. I hope that I don't get in a car accident. No, just kidding. I'm fine.